Welcome back. This is our for fun tier list for all the spirits in Spirit Island. Last time we did all the mini expansions. This time we're going to be talking about Jagged Earth.
So this tier list builds off of the other two tier list videos we've done, so this is a continuation. So yeah, today, like Ethan said, we're doing Jagged Earth, and we're starting off with Volcano Looming High. I put this guy in B tier. He's a spirit I can't seem to crack. I understand what he's supposed to do, I just can't seem to do it. The way that you have to stack up the presences and all that stuff to get the most out of his kit, it just doesn't click with me for some reason. But regardless of that, I was still able to feel like I was erupting when I decided to use my innate power.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I think the flavor of the spirit is very strong. It does feel like, yes, you're a volcano, you're building up to this explosion, and then you explode. But I don't know, the variety of the gameplay doesn't really sell it for me. I think he's a character that is cool to create, but I don't think he's a fun character to pilot. Like, I don't feel inclined to play the spirit ever. I personally don't have too many games on him, but that's not because I find him hard. It's just he doesn't really attract me to playing him.
Yeah, like you said, his playstyle is kind of just build up and then let it go, build up and let it go. And that can get a bit repetitive at times. It's a different kind of fun, though. If you want destruction, you want a bunch of it in one place, coming from one place. You don't want to have to worry about spreading your presence on the map as efficiently as possible. Then I see Volcanoes being good. But honestly, yeah, I'm indifferent with my placement, so that's why I put him in B tier. If you think he goes into D tier, I'll drop him to low C.
Yeah, let's throw him into C tier for now. We got Stones, Unyieldings, Defiance. I don't mind this guy. I think he's innocent. He has the cool mechanic of letting islands blight. He's sticky. He has a lot of staying power. It's hard to get him off the board. Despite that, I put him in C tier.
You put him in C tier?
I did. I don't feel super inclined playing him. I think he's the guy who gets minor powers, right? On his growth track?
Yes, he does.
I definitely think that's the coolest part about him. I think his presence track going top is interesting, but beyond that, there are a lot of other spirits that can get minor powers. Although the way he does it is more interesting, and he's able to get more majors because of that. He's just not my playstyle. I like playing for more proactive benefits. I don't like trying to kill things in post in the same way that he does with his innate power. So I'm a little flexible on this because I can see what makes him fun, but me personally, C tier.
So last week, I would have agreed with you. When I made these tier lists, I put him in C tier as well. The thing is though, last Friday, we streamed twitch.tv/9rootbiters, and my perspective on him has changed completely. Anything that I made my decision off of for this placement was based on old info, but after having played him again, I feel a lot better about him. He's still not my go-to spirit because I see him as this guy that you bring out when there's just an unavoidable amount of blight that's going to be on the island, whether you're against Habsburg or you're playing with a wildfire or something. He's a great person to have because he can prevent both you and your allies from losing presence, and also preventing cascades, and also just adding thorns damage to the land. Those are aspects that I really liked about him. I noticed there's a distinct difference in the way that you built him, where you went top track only, and the way I built him, where I went both bottom and top equally. And being able to stall out the game while also punishing the invaders for their hubris, I liked it. I would be okay with putting him in B tier. I would also be okay with moving him up in C tier, but it's up to you.
He did surprise me when we played together. I actually did not know that he prevents your allies' blight, which I think is kind of cool in co-op. That was something that I was actually able to make use of in the game as the ally. I'm inclined to keep him in the B tier for now.
All right.
I think I need more games on him because I definitely hard prioritize top track, whereas you didn't. And we did say in previous tier lists that variety in terms of gameplay is really a big boost to the tier list placement, so I think B tier is deserved for now. What do you think of Grinning Trickster?
So Grinning Trickster stirs up trouble. Oh my god. I love chaotic spirits that just throw a wrench into things. In a lot of games, I'll try to be that agent of chaos. If it's not like a role-playing game, if it's just like a fun party game or something, I'll be the guy who knows he's gonna lose, but will take down everyone with him. And that's what Grinning Trickster feels like for me. When I first started playing him, I loved his kit. I loved how funny his cards are. Unexpected Tigers and Overenthusiastic Arson. Such memorable names. His Let's See What Happens innate power is just... it's cinema. Cinema. That being said, the interest in being that agent of chaos, for me personally, has fallen off over time. And as I have been playing him at higher and higher difficulties, my hubris has started to become more and more unwelcome. And I wouldn't say that anything in this kit is particularly game-losing. Like, the main thing is just... He has a special rule called cleaning up messes is a drag, which makes it so you don't want to clear Blight with him, which makes sense. But it kind of... He's that guy who's like... He comes to the party for like 10 minutes, and for that 10 minutes he's there, it's awesome. But then he leaves because he knows that if he stays any longer, the cops are going to get called. So, because of that, I would have put him in A tier. I put him down into B tier.
Alright. I hear what you're saying. I think the fantasy with him is very solid there. There is technically a skill cap with him because you have to know what's in the card pool, and you can kind of play that statistics. I tend to be a very strategic player. In that sense, I like playing for my outs. I'm a card game player at heart. But at the same time, the fantasy that he provides, to me personally, has also not been there since the beginning of when we played. I think at first he was very attractive to play. He was very interesting. You are obviously going to have different games every time. But I think because of the way that you draw minor powers, every character who gets cards feels like that they have some variety in them built in. Grinning Trickster kind of just takes that to 11, and although I can see the interest, I personally don't care for it. I originally put him in C tier, but I think B tier is actually more deserving in retrospect. I might not want to play him at the time when I was making the tier list, but I can see the appeal. I think he's well worth B tier. Now, Many Minds move as one. I put this guy into A tier.
Okay.
I think Many Minds, the fact that he has 5 powers is really cool. The fact that he is a beast when he's a sacred site, and he can gather and push at 2 range is really interesting. I just played it, and it changes the way you see the game a lot, because your innate power is very reliant on you having a lot of beasts in one land. So you see your presence as a beast. When you do events, you see your presence as a beast. And for you to set up plays between turns, you have to manage your beast like they are defense. And against someone like Russia, that takes it to the next level where you're like, okay, I have to play the risk-reward game of what the event will give me and what I can control. And I think that's really cool.
I also put him in A tier for a lot of the same reasons. He has a lot of flexibility. He is what I wish Sharp Fangs was in terms of being able to control the beast. I know he's more fear-oriented, and I know he operates more as a hive mind, so it's not just like big beasts, it's a bunch of tiny ones. But the way that it's utilized is still really cool to me. I actually would have put him in S tier if it wasn't for the fact that I had too many spirits in S tier for Jagged Earth, and I wanted to balance it out a bit. But I think my favorite part of Many Minds is just the movement. Like I said, I love non-linear spirits in previous videos, and Many Minds move as one can not only gather animals into one land, he can also gather them from up to 2 lands away, which is just insane.
Yeah, and on top of that, I think that managing the beast is a big part of his spirit. Like, he has Guide the Way on Feathered Wings, which moves the beast with the Han, so you can kind of prepare your defense, but it requires your beast to be spread out beforehand. And then you also have a Dreadful Tide of Scurrying Flesh, which makes you sacrifice beasts to get that fear and to deny what the invader does. I will say, there doesn't really exist a spirit that I feel is fun to play that also does damage. So Many Minds does have that control aspect, which is cool. I just wish that the niche of the damage spirit for Beast was more appealing to play. That's kind of the only reason he's not S tier. He has a niche, he fills it. He can't do as much as I would like him to do.
The thing about these beast spirits is you kind of just have to rely on events to some degree. That's just an unfortunate reality, I think. So what do we have up next? We have Shifting Memory of Ages. I love this guy. I put him in S tier.
Ooh, okay.
So, base shifting memories, the element marker system is already just genius. I love having just one-off elements that I can expend whenever I want, and use them for fulfilling any sort of actions that I want, any sort of innate powers, any sort of thresholds. Take that entire system, right? On its own, that's like A tier. Very well designed. And this is a major power spirit. He can gain majors without having to forget cards. And he can also allow his allies to do the same. I love major powers. It's no secret. I always, as soon as I am able to, I will go for major powers. I don't care how much energy I have. If I have a card in my hand that I don't want, it's becoming a major power within the turn. So, the fact that Shifting Memory has an opener that allows you to play 2 major powers on turn 3 with, I think, an upper limit of 13 energy. I'll have to check if my math is right on that, but you can do so much cool stuff with this spirit. He's supporty, but he's also capable of bringing out the big guns when the team needs it.
Okay.
Also, just coolest lore. He's just he's the oldest spirit out of all of the ones in the game, but he is the most open to change, and he's, willing to learn and grow, despite him completely not needing to. He knows it all, but he still wants to learn. I think that's kind of based. I
would have to agree that his gameplay variety is really high. I usually play around minor powers a lot more, and even then, Shifting Memories feel super viable. I definitely think that playing for majors is more optimal. For me personally, only having to see 1 or 2 majors feels really bad, because if you gamble and you lose, the punish is really hard. And that's what I don't like about major powers. However, the reward is pretty reasonable, especially with a character like Memories, because Memories just get to play the secondary power no matter what, pretty much every single time if he wants and prepares for it. That being said, I put him into A tier, and I put him pretty high up on the A tier because I do like him. I do see the variety of gameplay. I'm kind of flexible on this one personally, because you actually made a pretty good argument. He has multiple ways to play him. He's one of the few spirits that can get majors that early. I'm down to keep him S tier for now.
All right.
Lure of the Unknown. Gee, where do you think I put him? Be so honest.
Where do I think you put him?
Yeah.
I think you put him in B tier.
Interesting. I put him in A.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Lure of the Unknown is the opposite of Ocean, but in my opinion, he's more interesting. And we put Ocean in A tier for the record. I think the way he plays feels like your positioning matters a lot more. He does get that 4 range when you grow, but most of your powers are relatively short range, like 1 or 0 or 2. Your gather mechanic's really interesting, where you gather the explorers and then you try to one-shot them at 0 range. I think that's an interesting mechanic that they added. Generating the double fear when you kill 5, it feels rewarding, even though realistically it's not a big difference. And he also is one of the few spirits who uses the replace mechanic in a way that doesn't feel the same with others. Others usually just feel like you're downgrading. He feels like you're replacing to kind of do that double whammy of collecting and then trying to get a ton of markers down and one-shotting a guy. what I'm trying to say is his base spirit, fun, basically.
You're more qualified than me to talk about this spirit. In terms of funness, I evaluated him kind of the same as Ocean, albeit a little bit lower because I felt like turning towns and cities into explorers and essentially abducting them, something about that just like, it doesn't, not only does it not hit the same as drowning people with Ocean, there's something to it that also feels a bit malicious. It feels non-consensual, and I
Bro, it's a PvE board game.
I know, it bothers me, and that's why I put him in C tier.
C tier.
I'm willing to put him in B because you're a lot better at this spirit and you have more time on it. Every time I have played him, we do usually do really well, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he just creates a lot of tokens. The fact that he works off of pretty much all of them is fantastic. I'm willing to keep him in A tier if you want, but he is the most predatory of the spirits in Spirit Island.
Let's keep him at the bottom of A tier for now.
Okay.
Now it's your main. Vengeance.
He's like my pocket pick. Yeah,
Pocket pick.
We just recently released a guide on Vengeance, and I put him in A tier. He is one of those guys that you need to put in the time to learn him, but when you do, it's very rewarding because he's very strong. He's a juggernaut. He is a force to be trifled with, and even other spirits fear him. It's great. The fantasy is there. The whole thing of being the scourge, it's a lot of fun when you get around to it, and the best part is, it's all deserved. The invaders deserved it. In my guide, I mentioned something. It's a bit of a lore speculation, like I call it a theory, if you will. When you start the game as Vengeance, you start with one of your presents already destroyed. I think that his presence being destroyed is the reason why he exists as a spirit. If that presence wasn't already destroyed at the beginning, then he would have no reason to fight to protect the island. But because his presence was already destroyed, that's what made him get into it. There was no higher altruistic responsibility. No, it was just gotta beat him up. And
I actually didn't think about that. That makes a lot of sense.
there's a reason I call him a pocket pick, and it's because I can't play him every game. At some point, I get worse at other spirits when I play Vengeance as a Burning Plague. Because the whole idea with Vengeance is you're trying to suicide to get stronger. Like, you're trying to make yourself stronger through losing your presence. And I'll be playing spirits like Keeper of the Forbidden Wilds, and I'll be like, yeah, I'm okay with losing that presence, it's only one. Wait, why are we Blighted Island? It's just you gotta be careful, so.
Okay. I don't see why the mechanic of disease being able to not be used for a fear exists in the first place. I feel like Vengeance thematically doesn't match with that. I think the mechanic is cool, don't get me wrong. I just don't think the special rule aligns with his lore.
I touched on it a bit in my guide. The reason why that exists, that you let the disease through, is because his damage directly scales off of disease, and disease is arguably the easiest thing for the invaders to get rid of because so many adversaries just build for no reason.
Yeah, I do think that is an intriguing part of his kit. It feels like a conscious decision. It feels like there is strategy. You have to think a turn or two ahead. But I did not play Vengeance for a while at the making of this tier list, and I put him in C. The reason being was just because I don't find him attractive to play. Honestly, the only reason I played him is because you told me to when we were recording that video or on stream. I forgot which it was, but you were like, I have a combo in mind, and I was like, sure, man.
No.
I'll play Vengeance.
Whoa. I had a combo in mind. Do you want to play Wounded Waters or do you want to play Vengeance? That's what
I told you I cannot play Wounded. Wounded is your spirit right now. I feel like I'll learn him eventually, but Vengeance, when I was playing him, not bad. I had a good time. I think those decisions were really cool, and I like kind of throwing my presence in as like a little suicide bomb. put that disease down, and then get revenge on your own self for later. In my tier list, personally, I'm throwing him in B tier. B tier at least. So I'm comfortable with the high B, low A. Up to you.
I'll keep him low A because he is a bit weird to get into at first, and at one point he was my least favorite spirit in the entire game. So
yeah, I definitely have gone back and forth with this guy before.
Yeah.
All right. Shroud of Silent Mist.
Ah, my other pocket pick.
Yeah. I will say, I am not very good at this spirit. I lose more games than I win with this spirit. That being said, I'm going to throw him into A tier. And this for a couple of reasons. I recently taught a guy who's studying in tech how to play this game, and he was like, dude, this Shroud character is so cool! This guy has like 2 games under his belt. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And he's actually able to pilot the spirit. But I see the appeal. I think being able to spread your presence is very thematic. I think it changes the way you see the game in an interesting way. And I think that the mechanic of keeping the invaders down, but also managing their ravages, is pretty interesting. It definitely suffers against a couple specific interactions with invaders. Like, if you go against England, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah.
If you go against Habsburg, you're also going to have a bad time because they're just going to gather in weird places, and the blight is really hard to deal with. And despite all that, this character is really fun to pilot. I'm going to keep it A tier. I feel very solid about this.
The next guide I want to make is on Shroud, and that is because I think that she's capable of doing so much cool stuff with her kit. Just being able to move to any land at any time when you want to resolve a power, and then also having 2 powers that just basically say, like, yeah, you can't touch me. It's great. And the whole thing with actually having something to do on time passes, generating that fear and potentially generating that energy, all of it just kind of comes together and just creates a really thematically cool spirit. I've discovered that to play Shroud, you have to play selfishly. You have to make sure that you keep yourself contained within a certain area, because if you spread too thin, well, the mist literally just evaporates, right? You have to stay contained to keep it, like, damp. And there's something freeing about that. There's something freeing about being like, okay, I cannot come help you, you're on your own. And it gets them to think, okay, I'm not going to get bailed out. I'm going to leave their side of the map alone. Let them deal with it. And I think that's actually, that's a totally fine way to play. Like, a lot of games, a lot of spirits, you go around everywhere and help each other out. Shroud is a reminder that it's not a bad thing to be selfish. It's a playstyle that is the most viable on her, and my favorite part, I think, is just the way that she gets energy. It's a little bit more low-key than Ocean. Ocean, you just get energy when you drown. But with Shroud, you get energy for every 3 lands that are under your control, and also when you gain a card without fire. They could have just given her more energy tracks, but instead they added a little nifty thing there with that. I think that's dope.
I will say, yeah, that minigame is really fun for me to play. I do enjoy...
Yeah. She's a collection of a lot of different minigames, and I like that. It's side quests. Characters with side quests are not linear at all. I put her in S tier.
You put her in S tier.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I'm gonna say. I really try to reserve S tier and D tier for characters I either really, really want to play, or characters I really don't want to play. And right now, Shroud's not doing it for me, personally.
She does for me, I will say. Like, every time I see her on Gain of Spirit, I almost always pick her, unless one of the other S tier spirits is there. Okay,
so I think, we talked about this before, I think we should leave this one to the viewers to decide. Does Shroud deserve to be an A or S tier? We should have made a new tier for, like, undecided, but let's just put her at the bottom of S for now, and if the viewers have an opinion on it, for the final tier list, collectively, that we will be doing in the future, we'll move her to the appropriate spot.
Yeah.
Alright.
2 more remaining. This one's all yours.
It is. Okay. I mean, I don't even have to say it. Yeah, exactly. For my tier list, it's unordered. I don't know where to put at the top or the bottom, but I will say, when I joined the Spirit Island Discord and checked out for a while, this was the most main spirit out of everyone in that Discord. I do have to acknowledge there is a little bias in terms of those numbers because the people who join that Discord tend to be a lot better at the game and play the game a lot more. And I think this spirit encapsulates high skill ceiling gameplay, or at least attracts those types of people. That bias aside, I think just looking at Starlight's growth by itself is really interesting. And I think that goes the same for the next spirit we'll be talking about, but for them, it's the growth option. For Starlight, it's picking what presence goes off your track. There's a lot of variation when it comes to that, and you play this minigame of trying to go for every innate and realizing you can't go for everyone, so you go for the best one you have at your disposal, using the 3 power cards that are supposed to help you do that. This is an easy S tier for me. I'm not budging.
I put him in high A tier, so I'm willing to just leave it in S tier. He is a lot of fun to pilot. He has a lot of different ways you can go. Like I said, I love non-linearity. The one thing that I will critique is you can't really use major powers with him, and I like major powers.
I disagree. I actually disagree.
What I meant to say was, like, playing for his innates is more consistent when you go with minor powers. You can't have both. A general rule with this game is a lot of your spirit's power budget is in their innate powers. Because Starlight has so many, it's kind of a bad idea to not build for any of them, you know? To the effects that you get with the major powers, but you just don't have the card play nor the energy economy to do that, I think, sometimes. That's
I think it's
that's my
doable.
only critique. It's not big, so
Okay, let's keep him at bottom S tier for now. I will say, as a promise to you, the next time I pull out Starlight, I will try to play for major powers. I don't usually do it because that's not what I usually find fun, but I want to see if I can prove you wrong, realistically. Like, just as a game, and we'll see if it'll work out.
all right.
Okay, now you can take this one.
Oh,
I feel like you play this a lot more than me.
easy S tier. I put him at the top of S tier as well. I'm assuming Starlight was the top of yours.
Yep, easily.
Yeah. You know, I'm gonna put him below Starlight because I don't always want to play him. Fractured, I don't know what it is, dude. He just clicked for me instantly. I saw the writing on the wall when I was reading his powers. It was a lot of text, but after I got all of it, I just like, oh, this makes so much sense. I played a few games solo, I played a few games in co-op. It just made so much sense to me. I need more games under my belt before I officially make a guide, but there's something indescribable about playing Fractured that you can't get with any other spirit. His Absolute Stasis is a really, really, really powerful card for how cheap it is. Being able to prolong Stage 1 and avoid Stage 2 escalations with the past returns again, if you learn how to do that, it's great. And Poor Time Sideways, oh my god, that card is the most creative thing. Playing that card is like being more of an Agent of Chaos than Trickster, but it's in a carefully curated way where you can strategize with your teammates and say, hey, let's designate this board as the one where everything is going to happen, and then this is the board where nothing happens. And let's just make it so that the board that everything happens on is empty. If you guys can manage to get that off, if you guys can manage to play Fractured to the level where you're able to consistently just have invader phases where the invaders do nothing, then he's just S tier both in viability and in fun. Because it's so fun to just see, you're reading the event and it's like, oh, nothing happens, oh, nothing happens, okay, Ravage, nothing happens, Build, nothing happens, Explore, oh, all those lands are isolated, yeah. It's amazing. His innate power is very strong if you can get it off. Unfortunately, I still haven't cracked the code on how to consistently play around his innate, and a lot of these spirits that I placed higher in the tier list are actually spirits that I have not yet fully solved.
I think solving the spirit is actually a really interesting thing you bring up, because I don't feel like I solved Starlight. I feel like I curated a playstyle that was intuitive to myself and fun in its own way, but I definitely haven't explored that major angle, which is why I brought that up. I feel very similarly to Fractured. When I was making this tier list, I definitely put it in B tier, because my intuition was, I see this as cool, but I don't want to play it. But then when you were explaining the things Fractured can do, I remembered when we used to play Starlight Fractured, and I was actually getting kills, bro. Like, I straight up got kills, so when you would 4x sideways, and I was like, oh my god. We planned this 3 turns ahead of time, and it worked out beautifully. Or, it was absolutely disastrous, and it was still fun. Like there's almost no in-between with this spirit, and I think that's part of the intrigue. And the other thing that you didn't mention, but I really want to mention, is I don't like the RNG side of majors. Thankfully, Fractured makes up for that by having the pocket dimension. You aren't randomly picking a major, you get to plan your turns ahead of time because you can see what's in your pocket dimension.
Dude, how could I forget the pocket dimension? Oh my god. Yeah, that literally makes him the one spirit where you can plan your turns. Those plays that you said, like, oh, it worked out beautifully after 3 turns, it was all like things that took me an hour to concoct in my mind, and when it actually came together, it was like magic.
It's just like, a lot of the time playing this spirit, or at least from my perspective seeing you play it, feels like, oh my god, it was so carefully crafted. You planned this thing 3-4 turns ahead of time, and it could only work in this iteration given the game state. I think that the skill cap on this spirit is arguably the highest, and even though I haven't cracked the code, I'm willing to keep him in S tier because I now have flashbacks of the intrigue that he can bring into a game, especially in co-op.
Yeah. I'll also go back to one other thing you said before we close it out. I think solving is too strong of a word. I like curating playstyle more. The thing is, I have not seen any other playstyles with Fractured, because I don't know anyone else who's crazy enough to play Fractured. So, the only playstyle that I know exists is my own.
I think what we have to do is, you have to play Starlight, I have to play Fractured, and we just like blumber around like whales that have been like stuck on land.
Yeah, that'd be a fun stream idea.
That'd be a funny one. But yeah, I think this S tier feels deserved. I definitely didn't place everything in this S tier. Most of these guys are in the A and B for me. Looking back with the arguments made, I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah.
Only thing I disagree with, Volcano's a D tier in my heart, man. I do not want to play that guy ever.
I rarely want to either. I appreciate his design, and I'm happy for the people that enjoy him. If I wanted to do damage with Badlands, I'd play Vengeance. That's my take.
Yeah, he's just not attractive to me either. If I see him on the game and I'm clicking him, something's wrong with me that day. I'm like really depressed that day if I'm picking him on the game. But yeah, that was our fun tier list for Jagged Earth. Let us know what you thought. Please let us know if you think that Shroud of Silent Mist deserves A or S tier. That one will be collecting in the future for the final tier list. And do you have any other closing thoughts, Jay?
I think that's about it. Jagged Earth, solid expansion. And I'm excited for next time, where we talk about the final new spirits in Spirit Island from the Nature Incarnate expansion. See you in the next one.
Bye-bye.